Hello, hello. Thank you again for tuning in to Brandy Lloyd Holistic Nutrition and Personal Training. I am super excited to talk about this next topic today. It's your thyroid. Oh my gosh, thyroids are very, very exciting. Our thyroid is a master gland. It controls our sex hormones, our metabolism, and our heart rate, just to name a few things. And before we dig into some of the details, I just want to remind you that the content and the information that you're learning on this educational show is just that. It is about education. It's about lifestyle changes. I certainly do not encourage you to diagnose yourself or treat yourself. This is little tidbits of information for maybe you to wrap your brain around, something that maybe your physician has been talking to you about, or maybe you've just kind of had some questions and wondering and would like to maybe make some small changes. If, of course, you are under the treatment of a physician, I recommend that you go over any changes that you want to make to your diet or prescriptions or to your lifestyle. But for the most part, this is educational. And another thing is I am super passionate about sharing information, which is why I am taking time out of my business, away from my business, and also my own personal education and lifestyle to share via podcasts, because there's a lot of people like me that are more of an auditory learner. I love to listen to podcasts, and I love to listen to a variety of podcasters on a variety of subjects. And I just am passionate about empowering women and helping you make decisions for your own health, and to get you out of that rut of, I guess this is just getting older. I guess this is just what happens when I'm over 40. I guess this is what happens when I'm in menopause. It's not. If you're feeling what most women are feeling around, 40 years, around 40 years old and up. I'm 46, almost 47. This is what I hear all the time. I just don't feel like myself anymore. I'm tired all the time. I find myself anxious or depressed or hangry, cravings, or I just can't take weight off, or I'm not sleeping anymore, or my hair is falling out, or I can't gain weight, or I'm always hungry, or I just feel lethargic, or whatever, or why is my heart beating so fast when I'm going to bed and my mind is racing? Sisters, this isn't just part of aging. There could very well be some other things that are going on, and that's what I really wanted to talk to you about today. Thyroids. Do you have a thyroid problem? I don't know. There's actually a lot of people that are walking around with undiagnosed thyroid issues. And my personal opinion is to why it is undiagnosed is for a couple reasons. Number one, a lot of times when us women go into the doctor and we complain about some of the symptoms that I mentioned earlier, like just lethargy or just not feeling motivated and losing our hair and our skin is drying up and we just have this thickness around the middle that we didn't used to have. Our doctors just look at us and they say, well, it's probably your hormones and you're getting older and your estrogen is dipping and you have a stressful life, and that's it. That's what we get. Now, there's two reasons why we want to go to the doctor most of the time is, number one, we want an answer. Or number two, we think we know what we want in the form of a prescription or a surgery because it has worked for somebody else that we know, and we've done a little WebD and we think that's what we need to make our world go around. The sad part about it is that in today's Western modern medicine, finding the root cause or figuring out why something is happening isn't really what they're doing in there. I know that this is a little bit controversial, but this is what I've experienced and a lot of my clients and friends and family have experienced, is there is just this overwhelming feeling that your doctor doesn't work for you and he's not treating you. He is working for pharmaceutical companies and insurance agencies. How come we just can't go into the doctor and ask for certain kinds of blood tests if we have, or saliva tests or stool tests or gut biome tests? Why can't we just go in and say, I've done this research and I'm concerned about this. Let's run it. And maybe if your doctor agrees, like, wow, that's really good research and you have a lot of points here, yes, I think we should run it. That's not happening. What they're doing is they are wondering what the insurance company is going to cover. And I appreciate that a little bit, because if they just willy-nilly order maybe $2,000, $2,500, $3,000 worth of tests, if they order the test, get the test, send you down to Quest Labs, and you work out from there, if the insurance company denies it, the patient's going to have to pay the bill. And most people just don't have that kind of money lying around. And it's also very frustrating. First thing I would say is, don't I have insurance? My doctor even agrees that this would be a nice path or course to pursue. How come my insurance company isn't going to pay for this? How come I have to pay for this? I already have, or my husband already has, our portion of our insurance payment taken out of his check, and then we have the co-pays and deductibles. What the heck is going on? So this is kind of what we're seeing. The doctors are left holding the bill, or Quest Labs are holding the bill, or patients are becoming disgruntled. And so insurance companies and pharmaceutical companies are kind of running the show. There's a lot of money to be made in thyroid hormones. And sadly, even though we have a huge portion of the population that is walking around with undiagnosed thyroid issues, we also have a lot of the population that is under treatment of thyroid, and they're taking thyroid medication, could actually reverse or heal or restore their thyroid with more lifestyle changes, and they don't have to be dependent on thyroid medication. Now, some people just need to. Some people have certain deficiencies that they have to deal with, and I'm very, very thankful that we do have thyroid medication that they will have to take forever. But for a lot of people, simple lifestyle changes can be the answer that you're looking for. And you've just stepped into my wheelhouse if you're one of those. But how do you know that you even have thyroid issues? I already mentioned that the thyroid is the master gland that controls your sex hormones, your metabolism, as well as your heart rate. So maybe you're somebody that, whether you know it or you don't know it, you have a hyper or overactive thyroid. A lot of times, these people have bulging eyes. They can't gain weight. They're pooping all of the time. They have an increased appetite, but they never really feel satisfied. They typically have a higher resting pulse, and they're kind of always warm a little bit. So those aren't all of the symptoms, of course, and but those are just some of the defining characteristics. Now, what is the flip side of that? Hypo, right? It slows you down. These people are often cold. They have hair loss, signs of accelerated aging. I covered some of those, issues with sleep, wrinkles, gray hair, gaining weight, dry skin, and so having an unhappy thyroid makes an unhappy woman. We need to have our thyroids balanced, whether we can do it nutritionally or if we need a little bit of help with pharmaceuticals. Your whole life will change, or can change, if you have a dysfunctional thyroid and you move it into proper function. Imagine if your sex hormones are balanced. A lot of the symptoms that I see with women that battle thyroid and women that are also going through perimenopause or they're in menopause, they're overlapping symptoms. One thing is, inability to sleep. Oh gosh, the inability to sleep thing. If you are not sleeping and your cortisol levels are high, that is stress on the body. And no matter what you think, you can't make up sleep. Just because you get a nap in the afternoon because you're extremely fatigued. Some people have literally had to. I've had clients that suffer fatigue to the point where they have to pull over their car. Now, for myself and chronic pain and fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue, I can hear it coming on in my voice, and my words will start slurring. And I just feel like I'm just in a state of like molasses with my movement and my thoughts and even my words. So I don't have a choice. I have to rest. So imagine your life with your sex hormones balanced out. You have a thriving sex drive. Your metabolism is banging. You're able to eat a variety of foods, and your heart rate is great. When you wake up, it's nice and low, but when you want to get moving, your heart can pump and give fuel to the rest of the body for you to go do something fun. And then when you're done hiking up that hill, your heart rate just comes right back down and you're able to recover. It's just a nice life to have a balanced, functioning, healthy thyroid. Now, one of the reasons why a lot of people are going around, in my opinion, undiagnosed is because our conventional medical doctors really aren't doing enough comprehensive testing. I would say 99.999% of my own clients, their doctors simply perform a TSH blood test that's just really looking at, the presence of thyroid. That doesn't tell you whether or not your body's using your thyroid or a conversion rate. So we not only have TSH, but we also have free, as in free to be, T3, and we also have free T4, and we have reverse T3, and we can have imbalances of any of those. So those are tested with saliva testing. And also, it's a good idea to do 2 Hashimoto antibody tests. One is TPO-AB, is an antibody, and TG-AB antibodies. It's not good for our body to build up antibodies. So one example is gluten, a protein. So when you are gluten intolerant, whether it is via celiac or whether it is just a non-celiac gluten sensitivity, that means that your body has developed antibodies. It can no longer deal with gluten, the proteins of gluten, when they come in. And oh God, that's a real awful place to be in. And I am gluten-free, and I've also recently been grain-free, and it's made a huge difference. If you have autoimmune issues, I don't recommend grains. And I definitely don't recommend eating a high carbohydrate diet either, which often starts to happen. So if you are Hashimoto, and I know I have some listeners that suffer with Hashimoto, the no gluten, that's a real thing. Antibodies equal inflammation. And inflammation causes fatigue. Inflammation causes a gut dysbiosis, or it causes an inability for our body to actually digest and use the nutrients that we are eating. If we're eating a healthy lifestyle, it causes pain in our joints and a myriad of other things. So let me not go too deep. That's always my promise to you, is that I'm not going to go too deep on these. So if you have Hashimoto, the no gluten, the no grain, and that's going to help a lot with your overall level of inflammation. So what else do I want to say about thyroid? In my experience with my own clients, whether they are people that are trying to go through the testing and sort out whether or not they actually do have thyroid issues, or they specifically have sex hormone issues, or they specifically have metabolic issues such as type 2 diabetes, I pretty much start out everybody on the same. I really do clean up their diet. We detox a little bit. They go on a nice, simple regimen of vitamins and supplements that are pretty much good for anybody over 40, and we start going there. Sure, you can start with a whole bunch of lab testing, and I highly recommend it. If you have the money and you have access to a functional medical doctor, or you have a conventional medical doctor that is really rather forward thinking and not just band-aiding with pills, if they really are sincerely looking for root causes and can answer the bigger questions for you, then I recommend doing the detoxing, doing the blood testing, getting your gut biome tested, doing the food allergy testing, doing the heavy metals testing, doing the adrenal and thyroid panels. Absolutely. You're probably going to spend, if your insurance doesn't cover it, and they usually don't, $2,000, $2,500 on a lot of those things. But it's at least going to give you a good indication in your medical team as to where to go. Because I have to tell you what, it's frustrating. There's not a lot of people that understand what it is like to deal on the day-to-day basis with this mystery of how come I just don't feel good. And it's even more frustrating